I was thrown into menopause at age 43.
Oh my God.
When I turned about 43, what happened for me is that my digestive system really got tied up in knots and I lost a fair amount of weight. And when you lose sufficient amount of weight like that, cholesterol is a backbone of hormones, your fat is backbone of hormones. And if your body doesn't have enough on its body, your body's going to say, I ain't making any hormones. Sorry about that. At least sex hormones. And that's exactly what my body did. And so I was thrown into menopause at age 43.
Oh my God. Hey there, I'm Bria, and welcome to the Period Whisperer podcast. If you're over 35 and ready for real answers about your hormones, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe and stay with us. Hey there, sisters. Welcome back to the Period Whisperer podcast. I am very excited with our expert interview guest today to share with you. But here's my starting question. What if the reason you still feel off isn't because your body is broken, but because no one has actually looked deep enough? I want that to sink in for you because today on the podcast, I'm joined by functional medicine practitioner Cindy Dupuie, who has spent over 20 years helping women connect the dots between their symptoms, their labs, and what's really going on beneath the surface. We're talking about the lab work most women are missing, why normal isn't good enough, how your thyroid and digestion are quietly running the show, and what it really means to advocate for your own health in midlife. So, if you are like most of us, myself included, and you've been told that everything is fine, but you know it's not, this episode is going to be your next step. Cindy, welcome to the Period Whisperer podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy and excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you here. And always love to start the conversation with a bit about your journey, your journey into functional medicine or how your own experience through digestion, through menopause, through labs kind of shaped the way you work today.
And continues to shape. It never ever ends. And it's like, do I really have to learn about this? And then a client will show up. It's like, yep, this is why you had to learn about it. So my path, I have always been fascinated by the human body. And I have my degree in dietetics and food administration from a long time ago. Never did anything with it, got married, had kids, was working for my then husband in the used car business. So it was kind of a diversion on the path, you could say, right?
Right.
And then when I turned about 43, I was going through a divorce and it's kind of a trying time. And I would say in most people's lives.
Kinda. Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. And what happened for me is that my digestive system really got tied up in knots and I lost a fair amount of weight. That's kind of my way of trying to be in control when I'm out of control.
Mhm.
That's happened twice in my life, and that was another time it happened. And when you lose sufficient amount of weight like that, cholesterol is a backbone of hormones. Your fat is backbone of hormones. And if your body doesn't have enough on its body, on its frame, your body's going to say, I ain't making any hormones. Sorry about that.
Wow.
At least sex hormones. And that's exactly what my body did. And so I was thrown into menopause at age 43,
Oh my God.
which is on the lower, younger side of menopause. And it just happened like this. And and even when I kind of came back, which was probably about age 45, my body wasn't gonna start everything up again. I just said, we're done.
Good. No, but we were too close to retirement.
And the interesting thing is it happened right about the same time of the Women's Health Initiative study came out. Okay. So isn't it interesting? Yeah, so interesting. And back then, I mean, that was 25 years ago, okay? That was a long time ago. That was 25 years ago. I didn't think anything about perimenopause, menopause. It's like, huh? Um, so, didn't do anything with it. What happened during that time is I knew I wanted to get back working with the body again. I'm like, what can I do? I've been out of it for a long time. And I became a yoga instructor. That was kind of my saving place, safe place, a wonderful, powerful place, a calming place for me to be. And I wanted to have other women experience it. So I became a yoga instructor. And then I also wanted to do something with nutrition. I'm going, what can I do with it? And I happened to go to a lecture, and this woman happened to have, do you know who Dr. Mark Hyman is?
Yes, of course.
Of course. Okay, of course you do, because you're in functional medicine, okay?
Yeah.
Of course you do. But a lot of people don't. It's like I asked that question, it's like, wow, how can you not know about it?
On the dump for my time. Yeah.
She held up his book, I still have it, called The Ultra Metabolism. And it became that he wrote, it became kind of my Bible. It's like I started reading, I go, "Oh my god, look, this makes so much sense." But I still didn't know where I was gonna go with all this, right? And through my teaching, yoga teaching, I started to have clients coming to me. And so I was looking at something, and I happened to, find Dr. Mark Hyman again, and then realized that there was a training here in Pasadena, California from the Institute of Functional Medicine. It was a whole week, very intensive training. And I said, I got to go. So I went. And after the week, it was 6 days, I said, I found my tribe. And so I was immersed in the courses that the Institute of Functional Medicine had to offer and then everything else. And so I started helping men and women at that point in time. And where my digestion comes in, I mentioned how my digestion was just horrible. And the interesting thing is that I did a Genova's test, right? And I know you do the GI map,
Yeah.
and Genova is very similar.
I've read those as well. They're very
Yeah, yeah, very similar. And the interesting thing is something that I discovered back then was, I had gone to integrative doctor. Functional medicine wasn't big the way it is big as it is now. Okay. It was still kind of young. And I'd gone to her and she kind of read it, but she missed a whole lot. And it was fortunate because when I was in Pasadena, there was this young doctor from Canada. She was a naturopath. And we got into the GI part of the lecture and the teachings, and I told her kind of what's going on. She goes, "Well, do you have your tests?" And I said, "I can go home tonight and bring them back tomorrow." And you're sitting next to the same person, you kind of do that.
Yeah.
And she was able to point out I was making no stomach acid. She pointed out a lot of different things that the other doctor didn't. So that was the beginning of me repairing myself because I really got in trouble when it came to my digestion. Really, really got in trouble. And I found my way out of it. And digestion is such a big part of so many different things. So,
Yeah, you can't get to your hormones at all if your digestion's
like, no, you can't. You can't, or anything else. And or your minerals, right? Pooping, what's that? You know? Seriously. And and I always had an issue kind of with my digestive system. And you look at my familial history, same thing. So not surprising, right? Um, Fast forward to getting into helping women in perimenopause and menopause, I was fortunate, and I was thinking today, why was I put on hormones? I can't remember asking for it. I don't know why I was, but thank goodness. So when I was 50, so 7 years after I went into menopause, a doctor, and I'm not even sure which one, put me on
Oh.
low dose by estrogen. Which is what they were doing at that point in time, the ones who were more in the know. And they were cautious, so they would do low dose and they would use a estrogen. And a lot of people don't realize that estrogen, there's a family of estrogens. Okay, we have estradiol, we have estriol, and we have estrone. And it's really important to know that and what each one of them basically does in our body to understand what our body produces, maybe well, you know this because of the Dutch test, right? And I know you mentioned that. All of these different things, it is important to note the basics, okay? Because conversation is surrounding um, estrogen as if it's one thing and it's not.
I love that you said that. Can you touch quickly for the women listening on the 3 different ones and
Would love to.
yeah, what we should know?
Three in the family, three, four. Three.
3 estrogen.
I get excited.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, so we have estradiol, which is the most abundant during our fertile years, okay? Then we have estrone. And estradiol actually is anti-inflammatory. It's got a little bit of inflammatory properties to it, but it's very protective. And I think women don't realize this. I think, you know how we silo everything in our bodies? Like, our livers do one thing, our heart does one thing, our digestive system does one thing. That's why we have all these ologists, right? These specialists, these ologists. I call myself a generalogist because we put it all together. Um, so hormones can't be siloed, okay? So our estrogen, progesterone, testosterone are not just for fertility. It's not just for those years. There's so many different benefits. Estrogen, estradiol in particular, affects every single organ system in our bodies. And we need to know that to be able to even understand what it means to lose these hormones, okay? And possibly the benefits of having HRT. We just have to understand it. So we have estradiol, which is the most abundant during our fertile years. And then we have estrone, and we need estrone. It's inflammatory, okay? We do need it because we have to be able to have a response, inflammatory response to certain things, or we won't survive, okay? So we have to have that. But that is also the type of estrogen that our bodies will produce once we lose the ovarian ability to produce estradiol. So estrone is produced from that nice little belly fat that we get. Our bodies still want estrogen. It still wants it. So it'll create this fat, and there'll be an enzyme, aromatase enzyme, that will turn that fat into estrone. We also make estrone in our breast tissue. Okay. So our body wants it. And the less estradiol we have, probably not for every woman, but there's a propensity for more of that estrone to be made, okay? So produced. So here again, understanding all this, okay? And then we have estriol. And estriol is the weakest form of estrogen that we have. And estrone and estriol can be made from estradiol and kind of back and forth. And it it's the most proliferative during our when we're pregnant, okay? It's very anti-inflammatory, and there are some studies, in fact, and hopefully there's more going on right now, where a therapeutic use of estriol can help with autoimmune disease, specifically MS, okay? So, because it has such a calming effect and anti-inflammatory. And one of the reasons why our body makes so much of it, along with progesterone, is that so we don't, have a reaction, or what's the word I want? I forget, against the fetus that we're carrying, okay? Because that's a foreign body. So yeah, yeah. So those are the three estradiols. And of course, I always like to talk about, this is going way off, but bioidentical versus, and we always have to understand when there's a study, when someone discusses hormone replacement therapy, like the WHI study, the KEEP study, all of these other studies, we have to understand what type of progesterone they're talking about and using, and the type of estrogen that they're talking about and using too. So it's important, my ladies,
Yeah.
Bria's ladies, that you understand it, or you're with someone who understand it. You're you yeah, you're getting help from someone who can understand it, okay, who knows about it. So,
I love that you said that because, as important as like, looking under the hood and knowing your own body and functional lab work can is to tell us more details, hormone replacement therapy is just as nuanced. Like it's so niche for us as well, an art and a science. And so I don't think we can actually say that enough. And I know it might feel inconvenient because it would be nice to have a cookie cutter situation. At the end of the day, this is like short-term pain for long-term gain, I think, if you when you take the time right now to figure out what your body needs.
I like that. It's a short-term pain for a long-time gain. And yes, it's inconvenient that we have to know as much as we have to know, because our doctors do not, and there's reasons for that, and I'm sure you've talked about why. And, I had a client complain about a month ago about it. I said, "I'm so sorry, but it just is how it is." I mean, perimenopause is inconvenient. Menopause is inconvenient. Our health is a freaking inconvenient thing. I'm having to deal with something right now. It's like, really?
I know.
But I stopped myself after I said, "Really?" And it's like, and I like to be in control.
Oh, yeah.
I'm old, so it's like, "Okay, Cindy, you really gotta work on this. You don't have that many years."
Yeah.
I went, "Okay, so let's get curious."
Yeah.
So if I could say anything to all of us is trying to stay curious to find out what our bodies are trying to tell us, putting the picture together, doing the lab work, getting the history, looking at maybe what just happened in the last year. We as women are so good at experiencing something and then going, "Okay, we're done with it."
Yeah.
Okay, or, "Okay, yeah, that's a little bit of annoyance, but, we're gonna keep on going until we can't."
Yeah.
Okay? So, yeah, our bodies talk to us really, really loudly.
Yeah,
So
we're really good at pretending we're deaf.
yes. We're there yeah, we are.
No, I can't. They're busy. I have other things to do.
Yeah, yeah,
So I love
exactly.
that reframe that you did there. I think it is. It's goodness gracious, whenever I get a cold, I find it super inconvenient. I'm not to be this tired or this annoyed or time. So but it's always a message from our body that it's time to look a little deeper. Or like you said, just look at the last year. Like, how can we learn from this impact of your hormones on you in perimenopause? Because it is different for everyone. And it probably has a lot to do, some with genetics, but more, but you've lived your life up until this point.
All of that,
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah. I agree.
I can see and, and this is going back to the digestive part of it. I mean, again, on my mom's side, she had gallbladder issues. I have other, um, family members that have had dry skin who, dandruff and constipation, SIBO. I mean, it's not isolated to me, right? And it made me realize that that's where the genetic part, I mean, it helps to have that history, okay? And I found for me, and this is something, again, women don't realize, okay, when it comes to digestive system, estrogen affects our digestive system. And we think about, we all know about collagen as we get older, right? Estrogen affects our body's ability to make collagen. Well, what do we need collagen for? We always think of the exterior, right? The skin. But we need it for sphincters. Okay. We have sphincters throughout our entire digestive system. Okay. That keep things where they're supposed to be.
They're
Yeah.
important doorways, aren't they?
Yeah. Both ways. Okay. All right. So if we lose estrogen for some women, they're going to have more heartburn. Right? That sphincter up here is not working as well. Unless, let's say maybe they've gained some weight or something else slowed it down. We're going to be pushing up
Mm.
against that stomach and against the sphincter, right? That could be one reason. Yeah. And the other thing is, leaky gut becomes, all of a sudden we have these food sensitivities when we move into perimenopause and menopause. And a lot of that can be that you all of a sudden have a leaky gut because our lining is one cell layer thick. And if we have inflammation, other things, with leaky gut, we're going to become more sensitive. And if we have SIBO, we'll become more sensitive. And I just do want to say something here if I can,
Yeah.
because it's kind of, I didn't even ask your permission. I just kind of said it. But
The mic is
try to stop me.
oh, I love it.
People that go on a FODMAP diet now, which can relieve symptoms, right? Okay, of SIBO. But to be on it for months at a time is not taking care of the problem, and usually we become more and more restrictive. So, uh, I have family members that said, "Well, I just can't eat this," and I go, I have repaired my own system and other client system where you can start putting the foods that you thought you can eat again back in, okay? Yeah, and hormones do play in that. And the other thing, and this is something that came up for me, I don't know, maybe 15 years into menopause, so it took a while, kind of. I repair my digestive system. I would say I got to be about 85%, maybe on good days, 90%. That's just my weak spot. Okay. It goes up and down.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. But all of a sudden, I was having cracking in my fingers, my to bleeding, and then my heels, they were bleeding.
Mhm.
And in my skin, I would go in the ocean. It just, it would hurt, it would sting. I'm going, what the heck is going on here? Looked at my thyroid, looked the whole panel, right? The whole panel, and nothing was showing up. And this is the other thing, I know you talk about normal and optimal, and I'm kind of jumping around. I guess I'm a little ADD, but the person also matters. So my thyroid is never in optimal range, but it's my range, and it has been that range forever. Okay,
Yeah.
and I do well with it. I can have some symptoms, but
Yeah.
just recently. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, really. But anyway, so I thought it was thyroid. Came back, nah. I Do you know who Dr. Ben Lynch is?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Okay.
He's really smart, really, really smart. And he actually makes supplements called Seeking Help. But anyway, he's all about genetics.
I do know.
Yeah.
I use
Yeah,
them
yeah,
a lot.
yeah. I like their supplements.
Yeah.
But I found Dr. Ben Lynch, I don't know, before COVID. So I don't know, 8 years ago. But he talks about genetics all the time. All right. And he brought up this genetic snip. It's called PEMT. And I had had my genetic work done a long, long time ago.
Can you tell people what a genetic snip is?
Yes, a genetic snip, basically, it's not that you have a genetic problem per se. It's just that your body is going to work in a different way, and I think the one that most people know about is MTHFR gene,
Yeah.
which is a SNP where you may not be able to,
Methylate problem.
methylate as well. It's harder for, yeah. So you're probably gonna be needing support, or the COMT gene, which has to do with dopamine and magnesium and estrogen, and so does the MTHFR gene. So those are the 2 genes that most people know about, okay? Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just
Mm.
points in a possible direction of where you may need support. Now, Dr. Ben Lynch talks about dirty genes. So he, we have these SNPs, and a lot of the time the epigenetics, so, how we eat, our exposure to environmental toxins, our ability to poop, all of that stuff will influence these SNPs. Okay. So sometimes we might need support, sometimes we may not need support. My experience has been personally and also with my client base, and I know how they're eating, I know their lifestyle, you know, I'm in with them, right? As we continue to get older, we often will have to, and we lose our hormones, and even with HRT, hormone replacement therapy, we will have to support those SNPs more than we ever did when we were younger. All right. It just, that's kind of what I'm seeing. Um, but anyway, I discovered I had this gene, the SNP, PEMT. And where this plays into hormones and my digestion and my cracked heels and all of that is that we need choline and phosphatidylcholine to make bile. I call bile our oil that's our liquid gold. That's what I call it, okay? Because it does so much. And for those of you who may have gallbladder issues in your family genetically, okay, or in your family, or maybe you've had issues with gallbladder, what happens is when the estrogen goes away, we have a harder time making that choline, making that phosphatidylcholine, and making that bile. So what does it have to do with digestion? We think of bile as maybe, throwing up, but bile is made in your liver, right? We always say bile, and here's the bile right here. No, it's made in your liver, and it's super important on a lot of different levels. One, to remove your toxins. Okay, our liver attaches our toxins, our estrogen metabolites onto that bile. That bile then is taken to the gallbladder,
Mhm.
stored there until our body, our digestive system, talks to our gallbladder and says, hey, we need some bile.
Mm.
And it says, hey, we need some bile because it comes in the small intestine at the top. One of its job is to continue to sterilize food, SIBO patients. It also, okay, it also helps the peristalsis of the digestive system, the SIBO patients. Um, and then it helped to digest fat. Okay, so we can make it absorbable and fat soluble vitamins as well. So it's definitely a part of removing estrogens, toxins, and making our digestive system work well and making us have regular bowel movements and absorbing that fat. Once I started taking some supplements that supported
Wow.
my biomaking and bioflow,
Bile flow, yeah.
guess what? I no longer have cracked heels, cracked fingers. I know. And more women than you realize might have an issue with that.
And what I'm hearing you say is that with the loss of our hormone, perimenopause into menopause, that's when we really see the surfacing of, like, we don't have this beautiful, like, glossy overlayer of bite that our hormones provided us, and this is where I think things can get more dicey.
Yes. We are more vulnerable.
Yes, more.
We are, and I don't think we realize that.
Well, I don't think most women wanna be vulnerable. I think we've spent our lives knowing we're more vulnerable, and
I
we
know.
are not to be vulnerable.
I know.
But I do appreciate kind of the spin on it is like, fair enough, we are a bit more vulnerable, but let's look at this opportunity. How do we get ourselves more bulletproof then? And,
Yeah.
what I've heard from you today is really looking under the hood, So when you did genetic testing, tell me about that you have done for yourself and also the testing that you like to do for your midlife and older women clients.
Let me just touch on the genetic because that's not my area of expertise. And what I did, and it was years ago, 23andMe, then I put it in. I mean, there's just so many things that are much easier now. And then I put it in the Strategenes, which is what Dr. Ben Lynch is like, what the heck am I supposed to do with those? And um, so it can be valuable, I think. And if someone's really scratching their head, I would say, and has the, resources, it's not an expensive test, but if you feel like you're missing something, I think it's great to have. I think it's a fun thing. It's kind of a hack, but also can be beneficial. And there's some people out there who are really good at reading them. That's not me.
Me either. We will refer you to someone else who's great at genetics. Yeah.
Exactly.
We find someone.
What I do, I like to do the, GI effects with Genova. I do like to do that. Um, I would like to do it on every client if I can, because lots of times there can be things going on, um, that maybe not are not manifested outwardly. I mean, I probably only do stool that type of stool test on maybe 25% of my clients. Okay, that's it. I would like to do more. I would. I do the Dutch test. I haven't done it for very long. So I'm still a little bit new with it. I think it's extremely valuable.
Yeah.
Um, during prior to menopause, maybe during menopause, although that gets a little dicey, and then definitely if a menopausal woman is on HRT, I've had some clients ask me, "Should I have it done if I'm not on HRT?" They're in menopause. I said, "No, there's really no reason we're not gonna get the results that we want." But I think it's a great way of looking at the cortisol, because that's such a huge part of our health, and so many of us don't realize how sideways we are actually. Um, you know it tests the melatonin, which I found I'm really low in.
Yeah.
And people think about melatonin for sleep. I know you wanna say something, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's interesting because I find that the Dutch is so helpful, regardless of sex hormone production because it gives
Okay.
the pathways, the liver, like we are phase 1 and phase 2, metabolization of estrogen, and then certainly the adrenals. I agree with you on that's so that should somebody want to go on hormone replacement at some point, we need to know that those pathways are clear. So I do find it,
Okay.
everyone look at things a bit differently, but I have found it most helpful for that reason alone. Yeah.
That's nice to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and why you so you find that even though the hormones might be really low in a woman, it's still valuable if there's enough to see those pathways?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And in fact, I have so many clients who are on birth control still and they don't want to go off birth control because they're using it to control birth. I will always run a Dutch anyway because I want to see the adrenals and I want to see those pathways. How is that methylation in the phase one and phase two?
Okay.
Most importantly, the adrenals.
Yeah, and those darn adrenals. And, that's definitely a part of perimenopause and how a woman experiences menopause is those adrenals. And I think actually, believe it or not, right now, mine are talking to me very, very loudly. And that's when I go, really, do I have to do this again? But sometimes we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we don't live in a vacuum, do we? And
Oh,
I think is even for you and I think that was a beautiful point that you even just shared early on, saying that, you're going through something again. And really, are we here? You and I probably put more effort into our health than many because we make a living from it.
yeah.
And so it's easier. I always say it's easier for me because it is because everything I learned to help me be better at my work has to do with my health. So it helps my health. It is nice in that sense. And I still have times where I have to say, really? Am I here again? Really? Why am I awake at 2 a.m.? Really? So I love that you shared that because I think it's never perfect. We get to have these beautiful pockets of winning. And of course, at the end of every downhill is another uphill. That is how life goes. That's what I've learned.
Very well put. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very well put.
Anyway, sorry, I cut you off. So the Genova, you sometimes do the Dutch, which good that you quite love to do for functional lab work for your clients.
For functional lab work, once in a while, I'll do the NutriValve, which is looks at your metabolites
Right.
of your nutrients, and so it gives us a really good snapshot of where your body needs support and all the vitamins, all the nutrients, minerals, and it looks at your toxic load. It gives us, to a certain degree, and so it gives us a really nice snapshot. So someone's really worried or really, really struggling
Mhm.
when we've done other things. It depends on the client. I love having that at my fingertips. And then of course, I mean, this isn't necessarily functional,
Yeah,
but I consider really good lab work, which I know you've gone over, as low hanging fruit. It's
absolutely.
it's right there.
Yeah.
And we get so much information from good lab work and knowing what optimal and normal levels are, and then looking at a person's history of what those levels are, which most doctors don't. I mean, I know I spend a lot of time looking at labs, not just what's in front of me, but their history and their symptoms now. And then if something's not making sense, then when they're in front of me, and that's really important, the person that's sitting in front of you, I will start digging and say, what has changed? What has happened? And it's interesting. We had the fires here a year ago, less than a year ago. And I have a husband and wife that come and see me, and I love this age. I love that they're doing it because they're being so proactive. Are they even 30 yet? I forget if they're even 30 yet. I'll have to look at their ages. But they started fairly young being proactive. Well, let me tell you, I don't know if they lost their home because I haven't met with them yet, but they mentioned the Eden fire where a lot of people lost their homes. I can see it in their lab work.
Oh my goodness. What do you see? What are I little thing?
His liver enzymes went up really high. And, our livers have to process
Yeah.
all of that smoke, all of that stress. Um, what else? I mean, I just glanced at him because I'm not meeting with him quite yet, but that was one of the things that really stood out for me. Oh, homocysteine really went up. And he did say to me, and I do remember he needed support before, but especially now, through the stress and through, the detoxification, he needs his B vitamins. He needs his folate. He needs his B12. And I'm sure that it has been sucked out of him. And his homocysteine is up high. And he did say that they had stopped taking their supplements and It's like, okay, we need to get back on board. But, they went through probably more trauma. I mean, we go through more trauma than we realize we go through. What else? I mean, there's so many things that they didn't test for. It's like, they went to Kaiser. And although he got his homocysteine, I think all she got was her TSH. That was it. It's like, no, you know better than that.
Yeah.
But anyway, there was enough shifts there, and in him in particular, it was liver, homocysteine, hemoglobin. So I'm guessing, I don't remember if it's iron, ferritin, and then iron, which you talk about. And you have to know both in order to be able to really determine what's going on in the body. I go to Kaiser too, and I'm on Medicare, right? And I go to Kaiser, and I'm probably gonna have to do a whole lab panel myself to get what I need. Um, why was I mentioning this? Something about TSH. Oh, my doctor, all she tested was TSH. And so and it moved, not in the right direction. And I'm like, "Okay, that doesn't tell me anything," because, as you say, TSH is the pituitary talking to the thyroid. It doesn't tell us where our thyroid hormones are, and it doesn't tell us if all of a sudden maybe you have a little autoimmune issue going on, which I've never had before. But again, you look back over that year and I go, "Huh, huh, I need to check this." Yeah.
Yeah, we can start to you're right, and it's helpful to have that perspective when we can start to build, I think, even our own lab work year out
Yes.
a year to see the patterns and also think about what happened in the year and
Yes.
that's being
I don't know if you're aware of this. You probably are, but I'm not sure if your audience is. And the reason why this is on my radar is about, I guess maybe it's coming up to 2 years ago. I had a breast lump. And for the first time, I was exposed to what it might feel like to possibly have cancer, right? Just all the feel this is one of those things like, really, do I have to go through this? But I'm so grateful I did because I had an understanding that was just so different than what or an awareness, an awareness that was so different from whatever it was before, and it's still close to my heart. But so I listened to some doctors who do you know who Naisha Winters is? Is it Winters or Summers? Oh my gosh. She's got an amazing story. And she talks about the terrain, how important our terrain is for cancer, for viruses, for bacteria, all of that. We have to take care of the terrain. She was supposed to die about 30 years ago, I think. And she's still going and she's still amazing. Okay. Yeah, she was given a death sentence because of cancer.
Wow. She focuses on that terrain. So I know, like you and I think we both agree on the importance of like deeper lab work looking at
Hmm.
blood. And then also, I think it sounds like having the right person to read it as I have way too many clients that come to me, and maybe you have as well. And you even went through the experience of having a reading that was only partial. Like we need the big, deep picture of the bots and I guess someone experienced to read it with us. For anyone who needs to just use their Kaiser or just needs to go to their healthcare practitioner for now in this moment, what do you say to the women listening about advocating for themselves for now? How do they advocate for deeper lab work or their own health? Or maybe what are your kind of initial tips for them if they can't invest in functional lab work right now?
Sometimes we have to know how to ask for it.
Mhm.
So, like if I want insulin or something like that, I'll say there's insulin, there's diabetes in my family or something. Maybe this isn't really what you want, but that's what I do sometimes. And it's like if there's thyroid, it's like, okay, there is Hashimoto's in my family. So I want my antibodies done, right?
Right.
Or I'll say, okay, my TSH looks okay. I know it's within range, but I'm feeling XYZ. And lots of times you are anyway. Okay. So knowing what some of the signs and symptoms and risk factors, again, having a clinician that can help you with that, is really useful. Okay. And I do have a guide, and it's free, and it lists all of the labs to ask perimenopause or not menopause or before, basically. Um, why? And then the conversation if you get the pushback.
Oh,
Okay.
love that.
Yeah.
Where do we get that guide?
You get that guide by going to my website. And if you click on, I have a course, a signature course. It's called it's called Grace and Transition for Women of a Certain Age. Okay. It's perimenopause and menopause. But if you go up to that little tab, and the course will be listed up there, but there will also be, you can click to get that. Okay. To get that PDF. Yeah.
I will make sure to put the lab check
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. So
What I hear you saying is maybe we can get this checklist.
yes.
Also, when we go to our doctors, we can utilize our family history. So you can use your family history practice to. Well, I have a family history of, and is a very perfectly acceptable and legal way to ask for more lab work.
And I'll tell you, this is funny. I fired this doctor, but um, because she tried to prescribe something for me that I was like, really? But when I asked for a lab, she goes, "So you have diabetes in your family, don't you?" It was funny. It was fun. I said, "Yes." And these tests are not expensive for the doctors. They are not expensive for you either. So a lot of people think that homocysteine, insulin, a full thyroid panel, a full iron ferritin panel, vitamin D is maybe one of the more expensive ones, but still, if you go to the right lab and you know how to order it, it's still around $20, $25. So if you get all of the additional lab work that really most women need, it's maybe $200.
Yeah, on top of your CBC and
Yeah. The CBC and the lipids you're gonna get done. Yeah.
yeah, for your doctor. So yeah, I agree with you. I think there's some good opportunities. Cindy, this is amazing, and I love that you have that gift to share with everyone. But for just for your actual tips right now, for the women listening who are suffering, like what are your kind of pop couple lifestyle tips that you would recommend women do, you know, to support themselves, to feel better, to support their gut, their hormone, their thyroid? Is there anything that you are your go-tos that you love?
And I think my go-tos and the things I love all can affect our nervous system.
Yeah.
It's all kind of centered around that, our vagus nerve, which definitely affects our digestion, which affects our thyroid, affects our adrenals, affects our cortisol. So what does that mean?
Yes.
Our hormones.
Yeah, tell us about.
Yeah.
I love
It,
how you painted that picture. It was like calm the body is going to impact the digestion, impact the thyroid, impact the adrenals, impact the sex hormones, and all of a sudden life is easier.
it is easier. And I know easier said than done. Trust me, I know that.
But why is it hard for us to still to do nothing? Like we'll do like so I will someone will be like, I will do a 60-minute intense workout, and I'm like, but I will not spend 20 minutes doing yoga. And I'm like,
Ah, okay, interesting. And I don't like to meditate,
oh,
right?
I'm not a huge meditator.
No, I already know you're not. Yeah, we look at our bodies. Your release is through physicality, and it isn't for other women, okay? But for you, it is. So, um, I'm a Bikram yoga instructor, okay? And Bikram's intense. Now, sometimes that heat can be too intense for perimenopausal and menopausal women. I have to be careful. I actually have to be careful. Um, but yoga can be a moving meditation. It can kick your butt too if it's the
Yeah,
right.
agree with you. I'm a
Okay.
yoga fan, especially a hot yoga fan. So
Okay.
yeah,
I knew
I'm a
you.
convert.
I knew you would be.
Yeah.
So there's more restorative yoga. There is a more physicality yoga. Either one can benefit you depending on where you are in your journey where your body's at. Sometimes I have to ask my women, I really would like for you to go to restorative yoga. And I know it might seem like you're doing nothing, but I want you to be nurtured and taken care of because most of us, that's what we need to do. And it's so hard for us because I think we get stuck. And when I mean stuck, we get stuck in that sympathetic, that fight flight, because we've been here for so long that I think it's sometimes hard for our parasympathetic or our calming, okay, side of us to engage. And I think sometimes for some women, believe it or not, they might need more help with mitochondria, which is energy, okay, before we can calm it down. It sounds counterintuitive. So taking a breath, stepping back. I know you've heard this all.
Tell it to us again. I'm hearing it for the first.
Okay, okay. And when you get up in the morning, and I still really flunk, that phone, at least for 5 minutes, needs to stay away. And I've been good for the last 3 days, okay? And even just checking in with the universe, with whoever you want to check in with, inner journal or just quiet and go, okay, what two things is important for me to pay attention today? Just two things, that's all. And then listen to the sounds that surround you. Okay. So by doing that, you're really tuning into what's happening right at that particular moment because you're listening hard and it will ground you. So we're just, oh, good.
Great.
They're all the ones I need to hear too.
Oh, yeah. We often, yeah, often that's why we get into the work we do, right? So,
Yeah, we need to do the things that we teach. Yeah.
and Cindy, who do not like to sit in stillness and meditation, that's where yoga fits in. It helps even meditate at the same time.
It's a moving meditation.
Meditation, walking, I find can be really helpful for that as well. Meditation. Um, and then yeah, just 2 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes before you get out of bed in the morning, before you reach for that phone, just listen and ground yourself. I love
Yeah.
that. That.
Yeah.
And that's
2 minutes. Might even go to 5 minutes. It doesn't have to,
yeah.
right? We do little baby steps and we go, oh,
Yeah. I mean, if you hit your snooze button, which most people do, that's going to give you 7 to 9 minutes, depending on your snooze. So
that's true.
just stay there, right in your bed, for a whole 7 to 9 minutes. Just listen. That's all.
You know, and everyone's different. I'm assuming you've worn a continuous glucose monitor.
Yes.
Okay. It tells on me. I am such a cortisol girl in the morning and my blood sugar, whew,
Oh boy.
the minute I wake up. So I need some retraining here. I need to put some training wheels on.
Sisters, now you know none of us are perfect. We all have, we're always
Perfect.
constantly working on it. You're both Cindy and I are well aware of where we fail as health people often because it happens, I will tell you.
Does.
Cindy, thank you so much. This has been so cute. I've enjoyed your insights, your humbleness, your education, your expertise. I know I have your website and everything, in the show notes, but is there anywhere you really like people to come and follow you? Any social channels, or is the website best?
There's two places. One is Instagram. I think I have got a lot of good material up there, solid. And that's at Cindy, Cindy. Um, what is that thing? Um,
Underscore?
Thank you. Maybe I need more estrogen. Underscore and then Dupuie, Dupuie. So that's my handle at Instagram. And then, I would like to I sent you a general link to YouTube, my YouTube channel. But I think I would like to send you a link to a specific video. And the reason being is I think it's a really good overview of perimenopause, menopause, talking about the estrogens, talking about cancer and estrogen, talking about the different types of HRT. It's pretty, it's broad, but complete, and I think valuable. So I think I would like to do that. I think it's just a great place for people to get a lot of good general knowledge and understanding. Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
Okay.
I'll add it to the show notes. Thank you so much, Cindy.
Thank you for having me. It was a delight. You're a delight. Thanks.
Sisters, what a great conversation. I hope that it provided you with some insight into your body, into better knowing yourself, into how to look deeper. So go out, be more in your life and not just less on a scale. And we'll catch you in the next episode.
If you're 35 plus and ready to stop guessing, start understanding your hormones, and feel your absolute best, hit subscribe. That's what we do here.